So, why is spending quality time with your teenager one of the most important things you can do? How do you know if the time you spend with your teenager was successful? And how do you make sure you always get it right? That's what we're going to be talking about in this video. So I'll encourage you to hang around for the next 8 to 18 minutes. That's a broad range, isn't it? And so we're going to go straight into it. But before we go, I'd like to encourage you to hit the like, the share, the subscribe, and the follow buttons. Those buttons are very important, not just to encourage us to keep giving you this high quality content that we give you every week. It also helps the video to get to other people who would certainly need the video. So that's all I ask of you. Hit those buttons and let's go. Now, I like a bit of stories, right? So I'm going to tell you a story that clearly illustrates why it's important to always prioritize spending time with your teenager. This story is about two victims of the October 7th event. I don't want us to get sidetracked. So it's not really about October 7th or whatever. It's about a 16 years old guy who was interviewed a couple of months later. His both parents died as a result of that incident. And 6 months later, he was interviewed. And the things he highlighted as the most important things and the things he has as his memory of his parents are the things I really want to talk about. His name is Rotem Matthias, by the way. And he said he missed small parts of an ordinary life. The perfect pasta dish with cherry tomatoes, mushrooms, and basil that no one cooks for him anymore. Sitting with his mom after school, chatting about his day, his father's musical skills and how it shaped his earliest childhood memories. One of the things he said that really caught my attention, he said, other people's parents would read bedtime stories when we were little. But my dad, he took a guitar and sang until I fell asleep. Now, what that shows you is that it's not really the expensive holidays or the expensive gifts that you buy for the children or the expensive schools that you pay for or the expensive, activities that you pay for. It's really those small things that really count. And that's why when I hear parents saying things like, but spending time with teenagers is quite expensive, I always remind them that it's not really about the length of time or the cost of what you do. It's about the quality of the time. And now there's a research, I like a bit of research too, not just stories. There's this research I'd like to put your attention to. And the research studied more than 2,100 teenagers aged 12 to 18 to find out whether the amount of time they spent with their parents was linked to their behavior and relationships. Now, the results are truly striking. Teenagers who spent more than 1 hour a day with their parents in shared activities were, 1, less likely to engage in risky behaviors such as drinking alcohol, smoking, gambling, and developing unhealthy social media habits. They were less likely to give in to negative peer pressures. They were more likely to have supportive friendships, more likely to feel loved, supported, and connected to their family. They were more likely to experience healthy parental guidance and boundaries. And I've also heard some parents say, well, if I spend too much time with my children, how will they have time to spend with friends and other, social things that matter to them? Well, this research also found that those children who spent at least 1 hour with their parents didn't have any negative impact on the social time they spend with their friends. So if we put this research and that story together, I think it's clear the why behind you spending time with your teenager is clear. And in most of the videos I've done, check them out. I always refer to this spending time with your teenager as one of the solutions to a lot of the problems we've identified. And so I'm going to now go into how you can do it and do it right every time. An acronym that would help you is PACE. P-A-C-E. P. Planning and preparing together. Now, there's this risk of this tendency for most parents to just, at your own convenience, come up with one or two things and tell your teenager, this weekend we're going to play football, or we're going to watch a movie together, or we're going for a hike, or we're going for a walk. Yeah, that's good. Half a loaf, they say, is always better than none. But what is even better is if you can get the young person involved in the process of planning whatever you choose to do. So, walk up to your young person and say, if you have all the time and you have all the, flexibility, you could say, what would you like to do this month? Or you could bring in some element of structure into it. Agree with your young person that every month they would have the opportunity to pick a day, a place, and an activity. And you can even add a budget to it to say, okay, we're going to spend this amount, £10, £50, 10 naira, 20 naira, 100 naira, 200 naira, 500 naira, or whatever currency it is you're operating with. You agree on a budget, and the young person helps to plan what you're going to do together. Now, this is very important in terms of the foundation of whether it's going to be successful or not, because you must understand that your priorities might not be the same as the young person's priorities. You must also understand that this is not about you. This is about the young person. Now, but if you think that's too much, something else you could do is to give them options. So, what do you think, young person? We could go for a hike. We could go to a beach. We could go to watch football or watch a movie. Which would you like to do? Now, that simple options that you've presented to this young person gives them a sense of agency. The young mind's mind, or the young lady's mind, that adolescent mind, likes some level of autonomy, some level of freedom, some level of being in charge. It's that part of their brain developing. And so they would always like to have some element of being in charge. And so when you give them that opportunity, they always feel like they're part of it. So number one, that P is planning or preparing together. Number two in the acronym is A, which is, being attentive, being there, being present. So you've agreed on something and both of you are going for a specific thing. You have to be available. You have to be present. You have to be consistently and fully available all through the time you're spending with the young person. I've seen a lot of parents who are in a so-called outing with family or with their child, and they've got their phone. Halfway through the time, they're on the phone talking to somebody or checking some emails or maybe just scrolling through social media. And I understand that sometimes it might be difficult, especially if you're just starting, because sometimes your young person might refuse to engage or might not be engaging the way they should. And that's what I'm going to talk about in the next step, C. But you must set an example. Both of you can agree that as we're going for this outing, we're not going to carry our phones. There has to be a clear demonstration of intention to be available, to be present, to be all about the outing. Keep every distraction away as much as you can. Number three thing then, that's the C, is connection. Now, the whole essence, and I'm going to spend some time on this bit, the whole essence of what you're doing with this young person is to be able to connect with them. Now, there are several things that are required for connections to be effective. Chief of them is trust. Now, let me remind you or say that there are 4 components that are essential for you to have a successful outing with your young person. The first thing is availability. You need to be available. You need to be there. 2, you need to be interested. You need to show them that you're truly interested in them and in what you are out to do. You need to show respect. And the final thing, which is very important, they need to see and know that you are emotionally trustworthy or emotionally safe. Now, the 3 components, that's interest, respect, and emotional safety, are very important for you to have that connection. And there are several things you could do to ensure that that is in place. Number one, you must look out for something we call conversational gateways. Teenagers have a habit of not telling you exactly what they want to tell you, especially if you're just starting and you're just coming into this relationship with them. They would like to test your reaction to certain things. And so you would hear things like, my friend did this, or so and so person did this. Or they would ask some, unrelated kind of byway statement or question. Or they would say, it doesn't matter anyway. In fact, it doesn't matter anyway. It's a bit of a bell that tells you it actually does matter. So watch out for those gateways. And now, for you to be able to pick those gateways, you must listen attentively. Listening is an entire conversation on its own. But I'll just give you a few clues. Now, you need to understand that listening involves two people. You might think you're listening and you might actually be listening. But the person you are listening to needs to know that you're listening. That's how listening works. And for them to know, you must give them reasons to know. And that's why you must listen and look at people when they talk to you. You must give non-verbal clues like nodding to specific things they say. But most importantly, you must be able to use things like paraphrasing to say things like, oh, this is what I'm hearing. Am I right to think you are saying? So when you paraphrase what they've said to you, it is clear to them that you really, really understand. Now, so that listening is an essential part of what I said previously, which is what you need to pick up those conversational gateways. Now, once you pick up those gateways, how do you deal with them? Two things. You acknowledge and you invite. Acknowledgement. So say for instance, you're walking with a young person somewhere and they said something and then you noticed some emotional reaction. You could come back and be like, I noticed you went a bit quiet when you said that. Do you want to tell me more? So you've acknowledged what you noticed and you've invited more. Now, whether they talk or they don't talk anymore is not a problem. You've acknowledged and you've tried. I noticed that thing we just saw worried you a bit. Do you want to tell me how exactly you feel about it? Now, I've had parents who have told me that they actually struggled to get their young people to talk the first time they tried to take them out. Now, this is very essential because, yes, if you're just starting this, it's going to be difficult to get them to engage. Now, there are a few things I'm going to give you that always work. Number one, that always works is try to share a few things about yourself. So, if you want to get your young person to talk about, boyfriend, girlfriend things, which they're always very quick to talk about, you could say something like, I remember how embarrassing it was the first time I tried to talk to a girl. And this actually happened to me, actually. What I'm about to share actually happened to me. I remember summoning the courage to talk to a girl one time. And she treated me like trash. Looking back at myself now, and the way I was then, the kind of broke-ass boy I was then, I'm not surprised she treated me the way she did. But you get the gist, right? Tell them how embarrassing it was the first time you wanted to talk to a girl you thought you liked, or a boy you thought you liked, or how embarrassing it felt the first time a boy you liked or you wanted to, call his attention, ignored you, something like that. That's always going to pull them into a conversation that you can then have and expand. Something else that works is taking advantage of the environment that you are. So say you're taking a walk in a park. There would always be something that you can start talking about. So rather than pulling conversations out of thin air, you can take advantage of something that is happening in the place. I mean, for example, you're out in the park walking and you've seen two innocent birds chasing after themselves. You could ask, what do you think is happening between those birds? Depending on what they say, that can lead into a conversation saying, are you chasing any girl like that? Or is any boy chasing you like that? That can lead into an essential conversation. Now, you can also ask open-ended questions. Open-ended questions, you need to be a bit careful about that, because if you ask a young person a question like, what's happening in your life? I mean, that's that's a very broad question. Open-ended questions are things like, so what do you think about life in school? What do you think about What's happening in your mind? What's the most important? What's the main thing you think about most times of the day? Such a conversation can drag them into or pull them into telling you a few things that you can then push further, engage with, and before you know what's happening, you guys are into a very interesting conversation. Now, trust me, this is not going to start off very easy. You're trying to build a relationship. You're trying to build trust. Remember those 4 things I said initially. You need to be available. You need to be interested. You need to show respect. And then they need to feel safe around you before they can start opening up. So this is a practice. You start somewhere, and trust me, it gets better with time. Now, the last thing in that acronym E is you end warmly. Now, I've seen a lot of parents who end such outings by asking the young person to tell them positive feedback about how it went. Did you really enjoy it? How did it go? Yes, it's good to get some feedback, but you want to leave it in a way that it allows them to expect the next one. So a good way to end it could be to ask a question like, or to say something like, I really enjoyed our time together today. If they respond, fine. If they didn't respond, fine. I really liked how you opened up about this, that, and that today. I look forward to us having more of this kind of times. Or if you must ask them questions, you could say something like, is there anything you would like us to do better next time? So that's not you forcing them to tell you this was really good, because maybe they didn't enjoy it, but that doesn't mean you have to stop. It means you have to keep going until they start enjoying it. It means you have to tweak and twist certain things to make sure it works better next time. So just to recap what we have just said, one of the most important things you can do as a parent or as someone who helps and works with young people is to spend quality time with them. And quality time does not always mean expensive time or long hours together or expensive gifts. It's sometimes those little things like taking a walk, spending time together, cooking together, just eating together. Those things are as important if used properly. And how do you use them properly? An acronym that would help you. PACE. P, plan and prepare with the young person, not for the young person. Make sure you are available during the outing. Ensure that the outing leads to true and actual connection. And make sure you end warmly, making room for the next outing. I hope you found this video very helpful, and I'm sure you did. One thing I'm going to ask of you to get this video to get to other people, and also to encourage us to keep them coming, is to hit the like, the share button, also hit the follow and subscribe button so that you don't miss any of these contents that we keep coming every week. Also, I'd like you to comment below. Let me know, what experience have you had with your young person for outings? What tips do you have for other parents about outing? Do you disagree with any of the things I have said? Do you agree with everything I've said? Do you have any experience with any of the things I have said? I'll be more than excited to hear from you. See you again soon, and thank you very much for now.